Definitely a time of change. I think there's lots of discussion about doing things differently. So people are talking about robots, they're talking about new ways to innovate. Behind it all, I think the underlying desire is still quite similar, so it's to get the same kind of service and the right kind of pricing around it. But I think people are now much more aware of what they can do to push that from both the supply side and the sell side. What's driving it? I can see that there is a push from providing just the core service. Initial outsourcing was about taking a large piece of expensive resource normally and just pushing it somewhere cheaper. I can see now much more discussion around providing a service rather than just an outsource. So much more about, I think our business now is much more about providing kind of point services that create an overall solution rather than saying what we do is take a large contract and just outsource it. So our business model is a onshore, offshore delivery model. We see the robotic piece as part of that process improvement part. So in our business, we look at it as being not a project in its own right, but actually part of a lean approach to the world. So how do we deliver services better, higher quality, lower cost, better overall experience for the customer? And part of that is the robot piece. The robot piece says where you've got a repeatable process, make it repeatable and better. And that takes out the people element from it, but it doesn't replace the overall need to have an actual working service. It just takes out one element of it. It will probably change our business structure, and I think actually it will free up some people to do more of the innovation and more of the continuous improvement piece that we actually need to do. So as a provider, we've been talking about moving to output-based models for quite a long time, and lots of clients ask about it, but very few contract on that basis. So we've kind of got the thinking behind it to do it. I think it's more about trying to get to that point of trust between both the customer and the supplier. So some of these models move away from you to say, I can show you 50 guys at a desk in a location, and they work for you, to saying, actually, we'll provide a service to you. Trust me that it's, so you can measure our service, but behind it is the cost model. You need to trust us to provide that part for you and not want to micromanage our actual internal process. I think the other part is that we'll break up from saying we have a large end-to-end, so actually there are parts in our process, and we'll kind of almost sell each piece separately. So I think it's more like a Lego model. It said actually in the future we'll have 25 different things we can do, and depending on what you want, we'll build a different model for you. So I think the old days we said we can outsource, we'll take your process and put it offshore. Now we'll say we can take parts of it and do this piece here and this piece here, and perhaps this piece should go back in-house actually. So looking much more critically at the actual overall process and putting the right piece in the right place. I think it will stay broadly the same. I think there'll be less overall FTEs involved in it. I think there'll be similar kind of revenue streams, but I think the way we operate will be quite different. And I think moving down towards that output-based and kind of service-based culture rather than a traditional outsourcing model.